Hi, I'm Jason Thornton. We're on the air this Tuesday with all the news that matters to Leeds. And coming up for you tonight. On the march, there are protests on the streets of the city in a row over housing. Plus, we meet the child making sweet music at just 6 years of age. More on that to come. I'll also tell you about another exciting sporting event as well coming to Leeds next year. But to our top story, and dozens of people took to the streets of the city today. It was all in protest against proposals to build new houses on Greenbelt land. Well, Leeds City Council this month confirmed they would be pushing ahead with plans to construct 70,000 new homes here in the city. It comes despite a report by the Office for National Statistics showing that the number of households in Leeds is projected to rise by just 44,500 by 2028. Well, that's angered many who feel it could have saved green space here in the city. Mark Kalesh-Levine joined the protesters on that march for On the Air.
The message today was loud and clear. These people feel let down by a council they say are ignoring their wishes by building on Greenbelt land. It's all arisen because last week Leeds City Council rejected government statistics, saying they were pressing ahead with plans to build 70,000 new homes in the city by 2028. They were previously forced into a review after the Office of National Statistics said Leeds only needed just over 40,000. But speaking last week, Councillor Peter Gruen said it made sense for the council to push on with plans.
There was speculation that our figure of 70,000 new homes by 2028 is too high. And we wanted to verify that and say, can we have confidence in that figure? And so we asked officers to go away and do a number of tests and analysis to see if we were way out or whether we were close, or what the consequences would be and if we needed to do some different work. And in total, that new figure, we think, comes to just plus 60,000. So it's not that far away from the 70. And on that basis, our view is that because it will be so disruptive to actually stop everything, say go back, recalibrate, take it through a public inquiry again, we probably lose up to 12 months doing that.
And that's where this protest comes in. The fear is that building will be on Greenbelt land, and concerned residents and campaigners feel they haven't been listened to or even consulted. Bryony Sloan led today's march.
The Greenbelt's a defining character of our landscape in Leeds. The semi-rural fringes, the semi-rural settlements surround Leeds. Leeds is a small city, it's not an urban conurbation like Manchester. Okay, it's growing, it's successful. We're not saying no to houses. Obviously we need houses and we need more houses, but brownfield first before you take the Greenbelt. It's unnecessary. There's enough brownfield not to have to build on Greenbelt. Importantly, it's going to raise awareness. People don't really realise just how serious a problem it's going to cause. The council don't have any plans for serious infrastructure to be in place to support the houses. So, for example, they've made a couple of changes to roads on the ring road, they've added a couple of train stations, but unfortunately that's not going to be enough when you drop 70,000 houses on the city.
But speaking to Made in Leeds, Peter Gruen says it's not that clear cut.
Well, our policy has always been brownfield first. In the first 5 years, we think 65% of all building will be on brownfield. But we've also been honest and said it can't be exclusively brownfield. We'll have to build somewhere in green areas because there are no brownfield areas. I'd want to build on more brownfield if the government released more brownfield to us from some of the other public sector organisations that are literally sitting on hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of spare brownfield land that's not being used.
The march started at Leeds City Square, heading up towards the hedgerow and then up to the council offices, all in an effort to spread the message to those not aware of proposed plans to build on Greenbelt first rather than brownfield sites. The message was twofold: to get support for the cause and to also challenge the council in their decision making. and there were many people here who felt passionately about the cause.
It means an awful lot. There's lots of local community groups here with regards to the council riding roughshod over our wishes and plans. They're outdated and inaccurate figures with regards to housing on Greenbelt. Their reluctance or refusal to use brownfield sites first. Just the fact that they're just riding roughshod over us and not listening to us.
I object to the idea that Leeds Council is going to build first and foremost on Greenbelt and conservation area. These have been areas chosen for beauty, and the idea now that we create urban sprawl out of these areas seems ludicrous. There's many brownfield sites. I personally have a brownfield site that the council chose not to allow building on, and I know of other developers who are in a similar situation. Predominantly I'm here as a resident. I live in the conservation area, in the Greenbelt area, and I don't like living in an area thinking all the time that somebody at some point is just going to be able to override long-term policy, which is that Greenbelt is kept green as a greenfield site.
And at the end of the protest, Bryony felt it had all been worthwhile.
So far so good. We've had lots of press coverage, and people have taken our leafleting very seriously indeed. We've had lots of support from the general public saying well done for what you're doing, we believe in what you're doing.
But with many people feeling strongly about protecting their green belt, it's doubtful that we've heard the last of these protests. For On the Air, I'm Mark Kielesh-Levine.
Thanks very much, Mark. We'll keep you across any developments, of course, on that story. Now, there's another great sporting event on its way here to Leeds. It's been confirmed that the city will host the stage of the 2016 World Triathlon Series. Well, after careful consideration, Leeds has been chosen by British Triathlon. It will replace London, which has held the event there for the last 5 years. Now, it's expected the event would start with a 1,500-metre swim at Roundhay Park. Competitors would then cycle a 40-kilometre route into the city and finish with a 10-kilometre run through the city.
I hesitate to put a number on it, but we got about 400,000 for the grand depart here in the city centre. I'm pretty confident that between Roundhay and the city centre, where the swimming and running will take place, will beat that crowd easily, because the people of Leeds and Yorkshire have a real appetite, as you know, irrespective of the weather, to come and enjoy and see the world-class athletes. And it's not just the race or the sporting event, it's actually the atmosphere that it generates. And it's a very joyful atmosphere, one that celebrates, and at last being recognised in this country for being a great city for world-class events.
Well, of course, we do have a bit of a history as well here in this city when it comes to major sporting events. The Tour de Yorkshire, of course, saw thousands lining the streets. It's hoped this event will attract similar attention and excitement. Plus, we also have two big names in the sport, Olympic medalists Alistair and Johnny Brownlee, who are going to help design the route.
So Leeds is a massive triathlon city now. The fact that the two universities get behind triathlon, we've got 3, 4, 5 squads now at 2 universities, and it's a big triathlon city. So if we have a World Series, it'll cap that off, and it has become a real sports city. I've always thought it's a sports city because it's had the environment, it's had the the facilities, the beautiful countryside, but now it's got the events to back it up as well. And one thing that Leeds has got as well is when it puts these events on, the people come out to support. Like the Tour de France was incredible, seeing those scenes. When I travel around the world and talk about Leeds, it's one of the first things that people talk about is the Tour de France.
Yeah, another great sporting event coming to our city next year. Let's get some news in brief then. 2 men are due to appear in court charged with historic offences relating to physical and sexual abuse at a children's home in Leeds. It's been confirmed Graham Walker, who's 76, of Crossgates, and Lawrence Dean, now aged 82, from North Yorkshire, have been charged with offences including indecent assault and buggery. The charges relate to incidents at Winmore Children's Home in Leeds in the 60s, 70s and 1980s. The men were arrested as part of Operation Polymer, which is an ongoing investigation into abuse at children's homes here in Leeds. Both men will appear at Leeds Magistrates Court on Friday, June the 12th. 11 other men have been arrested as part of the investigation. They are currently on police bail. Police have Today, jailed a local man for 4.5 years after they uncovered a plan to smuggle drugs and phones into Armley Prison. It was after they searched the home of Patrick Locke's premises as part of an investigation initially into a burglary. In the house, they found drugs, legal highs and discovered texts arranging for things to be thrown over the wall at Armley Jail the following day. Well, Mr Locke, of course, was then tracked down by the police, and they have now jailed him at the court for 4.5 years. He's 22, he's from Armley. He's also been charged as well with possession of cannabis, cocaine and heroin substitutes. Pets across West Yorkshire are suffering because their owners are in abusive relationship. Leeds Dogs Trust have this week launched a campaign to get the animals fostered until their owner is safe. We're told 70 dogs were taken in last year because of it. It's also been reported there are over 20,000 cases across the county of deliberate cruelty to animals, with most complaints involving animals either being neglected or not receiving adequate care. Well, animal charities, including the PDSA based here in Leeds, are now calling for people to be aware of the responsibility of having a pet.
Firstly, you need to really make sure you've done your research. Find out as much as possible as you can about the kind of dog that you want to get or the kind of cat. Maybe speak to different people, speak to your vet, be able to offer you good advice. You need to consider how much time you have for the pet. If you're going to be at work all day, you don't want to be having a dog, really. You might want to reconsider that. You want to think about how much space you have at home and the amount of exercise that you can give your pet. Obviously, some dogs will need a lot more exercise than others. And think about money as well. All pets can be very expensive over their lifetime. I would really recommend firstly going to your local dog's home, so a rescue home, either for a cat or a dog. They normally have loads of different dogs that you can choose from, and they will have staff there which can help you pick the perfect dog for you and give you advice. Certainly ask around, like word of mouth is probably the best way. You could have a look at the Kennel Club list on the internet. You just have to be aware that just because they are Kennel Club registered doesn't mean that the puppy's not going to have any problems. The breeder shouldn't be willing to give the puppy away before the puppy is 7 weeks old, at least. If you go around to the breeders and the breeder has multiple breeds of dog, then really you should be looking elsewhere, because that could actually be a puppy farm.
There you go, great advice. Now, still to come, we're at the Scout Group fighting to save their building after repeated vandalism. And we meet the 6-year-old making sweet music right after this break.